Hey everyone, Ravinous here. Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, and today we are starting the 4.1 storyline, The Legend Returns. So, you'll notice that my gear is quite different from the last time we were in the story, but there has been a time gap where I have actually improved my gear a bunch. And as we go on, this will happen between patches. But let us start. We need to go talk to Lise. Remember, if you are ever confused where your main scenario is, there's that little main scenario marker up there, which says Ardenwald's Adventure. So let's get started. And I'm getting an emote for this one.
Come to see how we're getting on?
Yeah.
We've made good progress since we took back Ala Mhigan, but there's one big issue we still have to address. Leadership. The Domans had Lord Hien ready and willing to take the throne, but we've got no one like that here. Theodoric was our last ruler, and he wasn't called the Mad King for nothing.
Suffice it to say, our people have had their fill of kings, which means we need to find a new way forward.
If only it were that easy. Everyone and his uncle has an opinion.
Politics.
For the time being, we're just going to have to keep leaning on General Aldin and the Alliance for support, and see if we can't find a solution together. Something tells me we're going to be hosting a lot of meetings in the near future. But if that's what it takes, I'm ready to talk till my jaw aches. The Reach is yours, Nago. Don't do anything I wouldn't.
Aye, aye, Commander.
Yeah, put Nago in charge of the forces while Lise does the political thing.
Ah, there you are. I've been searching all over for you.
What?
Don't worry, it's nothing bad. That said, this might not be the best place to talk. Will you join me?
It's not bad, but we need to be private to talk about this.
I'll get to the point. Might you be interested in a spot of adventure? After all, we were adventurers before we were scions, were we not?
It's true.
After routing the Imperials and liberating Ala Mhigan, I reckon we've earned a bit of respite, don't you? And what better way to spend it than by returning to our roots? So, what say you? Shall we call on Alphino and go adventuring?
Alphino was never an adventurer, though. But twist my arm, why don't you? That's kind of how I got caught up with the Sky Pirates ordeal. Twist my arm, why don't you? Adventure! I mean, being a hero is all good, but I'm an adventurer. So. Right then, let's go find Master Levier. Actually, leave that to me. I want you fresh for a little adventure. Wait for us by the Aetheryte, and we will be along shortly. See you there. Okay. I got this mount from subscription, so it's not available right now. I don't know. I think they're going to probably put this on the box station later. I like it. Having a little motorcycle that can fly and go underwater. It has different stuff. Anyway, not the point. We're here. Can we go adventure yet? What do you have in mind, anyway? Greetings, Ravinous. 'Twould seem we are to accompany Ardenwald on some manner of escapade. Have you any idea what we've gotten ourselves into? Adventure! Allow me to explain. At least something of a history lesson, but I'll try to be brief. No snoring, if you please. I can see where this is going. Now, the events I would speak of occurred before the occupation, back when Ala Mhigan was still a monarchy and Theodoric sat the throne. A uniquely brutal despot by all accounts. That he was. The King of Ruin suffered no rivals, real or imagined, and his dispute with the monks of the Fist ended with Ralgar's Reach being burned to the ground. In the latter years of his rule, he was seized by an unshakable belief that unforeseen forces were conspiring to steal his crown, and so he ordered that every soul with a claim to the throne be executed, including his own family. The wealth of the poor sods he put to death became the property of the king. And it is said that the royal treasures were hoarded somewhere in the palace. Thus was born the legend of the Mad King's Trove. I believe I see the direction our adventure is to take. I assume you have a mind to unearth this hidden bounty? You assume correctly. And I would also be correct in assuming that this legend is widely known. Others must have gone in search of your prize, tempting as it seems. Well, of course, we won't be the first to make the attempt. Following Ala Mhigan's liberation, more than a few eager soldiers turned the palace upside down in hopes of claiming an easy fortune. But even after scouting every room from dawn till dusk, they uncovered not a single coin. Their gold lust drained away as quickly as it had come, and the legend of the Mad King's Trove remains simply that, a legend. But I see you have no intention of letting the story end there. What self-respecting adventurer would? Imagine the three of us delving in a decades-old mystery. Tell me the thought doesn't set your heart to racing. I don't know. Treasure hunt. I'm up for a treasure hunt. I learned the box emote because we're happy to go treasure hunting. Okay, let's try that out real quick. Oh, is it a persistent? I could have fun with that, because, especially being a monk. I like the emote. Okay. If anyone can find the treasure, it's us. But even if we don't, the adventure will be reward enough, I reckon. Okay, we're getting food or money. Alright. The news of Dom and Ala Mhigan's liberation has kindled the flames of revolution in every corner of the Empire. I hear the imperial province of Dalmasca has already risen up in rebellion. Which means the Guardians must surely have their hands full. What better time than now to indulge in such a diversion? Tell us, Ardenhal, have we any clues to where we might begin our search? Well, judging by how the other treasure hunters fared, nosing about the palace isn't likely to get us anywhere. So, we'll probably need to ask around. Would that be another way of saying no? Well, yes. I see. In that case, I shall pay a visit to the Allied Archivists and request access to the records seized from the Imperials. The Guardians are meticulous about such things. If they uncovered a trove during the occupation, the event is certain to have been recorded. In the meantime, the two of you can track down those who worked as palace servants and officials during Theodoric's day. Given that they would be at least 20 at the time, you will be looking for people who have seen 40 summers or more. Anything they can tell you about the king and his bloody deeds may prove useful, so be sure to listen well. Ardenval, pray try your luck in the fringes and the peaks, while Ravinous make your rounds in an Ala Mhigan quarter. Ha! And there I was, thinking I was the party leader. Not that I mind, of course. Let's be about it, eh? We can meet afterwards at Gilbarn's Gate. Alphanos always has the plans. It's like that's his role. Alright, well, I have no idea what I'm going to get in for, but probably not a fight with old people, but why not? Make sure I'm prepared for anything, so we will teleport. Not far east, Gilbarnia, Ala Mhigan Quarter. Teleport away! Because we don't need to actually roam everywhere ourselves these days. Especially since we're not in a leveling patch anymore. Alright. Yeah, it looks like there's one. There we go. One already. In the palace? No, not me, lad. Surely you've heard stories of the Mad King. He used to hold public executions up on the divine audience. Anyone, and I mean anyone, suspected of conspiring against the crown was flung from the top of those steps. Suffice it to say that I stayed as far away from the palace as possible. Technically we're outside. Or we are outside, but not in the city. Well, technically we are. You want to hear an old maid's stories, do you? Well, most of what I know of the Mad King is common knowledge. We'd only see His Royal Majesty when he deigned to attend the executions he ordered. And after a while, even watching his enemies die wasn't enough to coax him out of hiding. They say he started seeing assassins in every shadow and wouldn't set foot outside the palace walls. I was offered to work there as a royal servant once, but the mere thought of it left me in a cold sweat. So, King was freaky, they bailed. Got it. I know I technically could fly around the city, but hey, city streets, I have a motorcycle. Watch me get lost. Nah, I found my way. Nice to see this place up and about. Living's hard enough as it is. Alright. I served at the pleasure of King Theodoric and lived to tell the tale. One of the palace guards I was. Truth be told, it was a dark chapter of my life, and once I'd sooner forget. Hardly a night went by when we didn't hear a blood-curdling scream echoing from the inner chambers, which, of course, we were under orders to ignore. So we'd stand still as statues, trying not to imagine what horrors were unfolding within. If you're hellbent on finding out what happened in the palace, head down the street and ask old Ernald. He was the king's head scribe. Ha. Where are you at? There you are. Yes, I'm Ernald. What do you want? What do you want with me? Huh? You would have me dredge up some decidedly unsavory memories. Yet, if Ala Mhigan is to move forward, we must acknowledge the misdeeds of the past. Very well. I shall tell you what I remember. I take it you know Theodoric's paranoia and the public executions of his kinsmen. Those were terrible. Terrible enough. But in his last days, the king's fevered mind settled upon an even grislier method of disposal, which only a chosen few were unfortunate enough to witness. His Majesty ordered the court thaumaturge to unleash a vile curse upon the remaining members of the royal family, magic which transformed them into fiends of hideous aspect. The resulting monstrosities were cast in the darkness below the palace. Even now, my sleep is troubled by nightmares. If others of Theodoric's blood were prone to share his madness, then mayhap it is a kindness that the monarchy ended with him. Beneath the palace. He gave me a location. Okay, well, let's fly. City streets are confusing enough. Alright. Excellent timing as ever. We have, but for this moment, returned from our intelligence gathering efforts. Since we're all here, why don't we share what we learned? Allow me to begin then. As promised, I procured the Imperial records for any mention of fantastic treasures and found precisely none. It is possible, I suppose, that a corrupt official deliberately hid the fact of the trove's discovery, hoping to enrich himself, but I find it rather unlikely that so valuable a find would stay secret for long. I conclude that our prize either does not exist or the Imperial somehow overlooked it. What of you, Ravinous? Were your investigations any more fruitful? The curse dumping bodies under the palace. Turned into monsters? But what can you mean by the darkness beneath the palace, I wonder? I met an old man in Ala Mhigan who spoke of the palace's subterranean prison, and he said not of cursed abominations. The Imperial archives were also silent on the subject of fiends inside the palace grounds. Could this scribe fellow have been spinning a yarn, do you think? Do you believe him, Ravinous? His fear is genuine. He was scared of something down there. If he was afraid, that does lend credence to the tale, though I'm not sure how that helps us in our search. Do not be so hasty. Ardnal's anecdote may very well have told us where the trove is hidden. But ere I share my theory, there is a matter I would clarify. Ardnal, you spoke of a light-hearted adventure, but I sense a deeper motive for this expedition. Why are you so intent on finding this treasure? It wasn't all pretense, I swear it, but you're right. My father was in the Imperial Army and a man of Garlean blood. I trust you know what I mean when I say that my Ala Mhigan mother did not welcome my arrival. As I grew, she would check my brow over and over, convinced the spot on my skin was an emerging third eye, like the kind you see in pureblood Garleans. My mother did not care for this taunting reminder of my heritage, and took up a knife. War paint serves to cover the scar. I get it. In the end, she turned me out into the street, and I was left to haunt the alleyways of Ala Mhigan, a feral child who got what he needed through begging, cunning, or worse. The best I can say about the years that followed is that I survived, but I hated the animal I'd become. Eventually, I left the city behind me and joined a group of refugees bound for the other side of the wall. It was then I turned to adventuring, and that road led me to the company of the Scions. I tell you this so you can understand. I know all too well the poverty and hunger what poverty and hunger can do to a person. I drew steel on ordinary folk for a measly crust of bread. With Theodric's gold, I could spare my countrymen the shame of living like that. Thank you, Ardnal, and I apologize. That cannot have been pleasant to recall, but I feel it best to be clear in our intentions. Well, Ravinous, are you content to surrender the treasure to Ardnal's noble cause and claim the thrill of adventure as your reward? Well, it's going to happen, even though this won't permanently solve the problem. Then I should be glad to tell you my theory on the resting place of the Mad King's Trove. If you're minded to hear it, it's in the prison. Alright, I'm just going to go for the money. Yay! Money! Alright. Because you can't solve an economic problem with one load of cash. Well, out with it. What's this theory of yours? Actually, it may happen to be better if we first adjourn to a more suitable location. In case a rebel tribal hunter overhears our plan, you mean? Good thinking. Like him? I don't know. was not exactly the reason, but 'tis a valid concern. Let us reconvene on the southern edge of Loch Seld. Okay. I can just fly over the wall. There we go. Because if I'm not mistaken, there's really... Yeah, this was the closest place. There's no teleporting to it. Alright. Come now, Alphino, don't leave us in suspense. Let's hear this theory of yours. Forgive me, 'twas not my intention to draw out proceedings. I simply wish to have the lock in sight while I explain things. Prior to the great flood of the sixth umbral calamity, the salt lakes you see here, as you see before you, were yet dry ravines. And this, believe it or not, was the site of the ancient city of Scala, which rose and fell during the 5th Astral Era. From what we know of the period, the city was already deserted by the time the waters began to rise, having been all but destroyed by war. Yet its ruin remains to this day at the bottom of Loch Seld. It is my belief that the darkness beneath the palace mentioned by Theodoric's former scribe was not a mention to the prison, but a place still further below, the ruins of Scala. I further surmise the Mad King's unfortunate kinsmen were cast down there not simply out of a desire to punish them, but to discourage exploration. Theodoric wanted to keep the ruins secure. Wait, you're saying they were meant to guard the Mad King's trove? Precisely. And since we know the court thaumaturge was involved, we can safely assume that any entrance to the old city would have been magically concealed. Which would explain how a legion of Imperial soldiers and the gods know how many Ala Mhigans never found a trace of the trove. We, however, have certain advantages which they do not enjoy. Ravinous, would you be so good as to swim down to the bottom of the loch and search for an underwater route into the ruins? While you do that, Ardenbolt and I will seek out an unsorcerable portal within the palace. You do the magic way, I'll do the underwater way. Got it. Which means we're going down. Alright, so... Now, during the 4.0 playthrough, I pointed all this out. We went exploring a little bit down here. Like, I actually think the entrance is right over there, which is where the thing's taking me. Haha, I knew it. Alright. So that entryway I found back in our leveling process turns out to be the way in. Discover paths on the floor leads under the palace foundations. Press on and find out where it goes. To the stone door we found so long ago. Called it. You come to a worn stone door standing temptingly ajar. It would appear you found an entrance into the subterranean ruins. Ravinous, this is Alphino. We have searched the prison beneath the palace and found a door concealed by enchantment. Have you aught to report? And you believe it leads to the ruins? Excellent. Then I propose we proceed from our respective entry points and meet somewhere in the middle. Come on, lads. We might as well make it a race. Victory goes to the first adventurer to find the treasure. Godspeed. Alright, so that opens up the new dungeon of the Drowned City of Scala, which we will take care of in the next episode. So, And all cut it so we'll just go straight into the next one for a blind run. So if you enjoyed this, give it a like. Any thoughts, comments down below. If you haven't subscribed, click on my beautiful face. If you like to support these videos, check out my Patreon. And thank you for watching. Until next time, later.